2025. I'm Jim West, the Associate Director at BioTools Innovator. And today I'm excited to talk about a panel we've never done before, but I'm excited to get into it because it's the future state of the world, I think. It's called Not Just Hype, Making AI Actually Useful for Your Startup. And I think this is an important topic because I think as people are kind of like learning and figuring out and exploring the different ways AI can impact and supplement different business operations, there's a lot of probably rabbit holes and a lot of things that we're still learning and figuring out, but maybe we can learn from our guests and from each other in what's working or not working today. And I think that for early stage companies, like those watching, I think this is also a really interesting topic because I think that AI is going to be one of the differentiators of future companies. And as you're growing and thinking about these from the ground up, it's going to maybe put you in a better commercial position than trying to implement from an already established scaled organization. So with that, I'm excited to introduce our panelists today. We first have Alok Singh, a longtime supporter of BioTools Innovator, judge and mentor of our program, and currently at Roche. We also have Eugenio Andriosi at Cognite X. And so I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves, and then we will do the opening. This one's going to be a little different than usual. So Alok has prepared some content to sort of lay the groundwork of the AI conversation and where we are today. And then Eugenio is going to pick it up and talk about some tactical applications and utilities. But after that, we're going to open it up to a bigger conversation. And I want everybody to sort of feel free to share their thoughts, interests, and questions with the group. So with that, Alok, please take it away.
Thanks, Jim, for having me. My name is Alok, and I work as Global AI Product Manager at Roche. I've spent about 2 decades in AI machine learning, in supercomputing at Amazon, and now with Genentech Roche ecosystem. Happy to be here. I really love the sessions and the events that BioTools does. It gives me a glimpse of what's the future looking like. So happy to be here, happy to share some of the learnings of the last decade and my version of where we're headed to, and talk to you guys later. Yeah.
All right, Eugenio.
Yeah, hi everyone. So thanks, Jim. Thanks, Yolanda and team for organizing this and for the kind invitation. I'm the CTO of Cognitex and co-founder. We are a Boston-based consultancy firm. I have did quite a lot of research as my PhD in research models and in language models, so early stage large language models. And then I step onto the corporate world and leading the research Ferrero team deploying AI in their day-to-day activities. And finally, I launched Cognitex, where we deal day-to-day with implement AI for our clients that are mainly hospitals and pharmaceutical companies. And we have our academy where we teach everyday professional startup and so on to teach AI in their day-to-day in their journey. So happy to be here and to speak about some practical actually application and not just hype in the AI ecosystem.
Awesome. Thanks, Eugenio. And Alok, I was actually just thinking about this back when sort of the internet and the World Wide Web first came about back in the 90s. And for those who were like kind of technically inclined, a lot of people thought, oh, the internet is just the World Wide Web. And if you were like more technically, you'd be like, no, 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 it's a whole bunch of things. It's FTP, it's IRC, it's a whole bunch of different protocols, Telnet and others. But what people are exposed to is often not the whole substance. And so maybe you could just kind of bring us into that world with AI today.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for that analogy. This is the, internet moment for us, maybe even bigger than that. Let me try to get the slides up here so we can get the ball rolling. On timing, we're at 9:06, so maybe at around 9:20 is what I'm thinking we'll lean into. How's the slide? Good?
Looks good.
Showing up nice. Okay, fine. Great. So right now, somebody in your specific domain is already probably using AI to accelerate timelines, do better product delivery, improve efficiency, and solve customer problems. I've seen this over and over again at companies like Amazon, Genentech, Roche, and also in my role as advisor to CEOs of startups in the Silicon Valley. What we're going to do today is try to turn some of the uncertainty around AI into more clarity. So, as Jim was saying, I've tasked myself to give everybody on the call a glimpse of where AI is today, kind of a map of the AI, so that when you look at AI from your perspective after today, you have more grounding, you have a structure to put AI in the right buckets, and you can have more nuanced conversations with your own teams to find the clear next steps that fit in your context. Overall, I think, loosely speaking, we'll jump into a few case studies. But before that, let's see why we are feeling this intense acceleration now that we are feeling in the last 1 or 2 years in AI, because it sets in context how much investment has gone into AI in the last couple of decades. One of the things that I've noticed is that leaders in any domain, they recognize patterns much ahead of others. They would understand foundations, invest time in understanding foundations, because it gives them an understanding of the map while it's still being written. Well, the AI map is still being written, and everybody on this call is definitely qualifying in that leadership category because you are trying to understand the fundamentals. If you look at the last couple of decades, right, what we are seeing right now started somewhere in the 40s as an idea. The first idea of neural networks, which is the foundation block of everything. When we say AI, it translates back to that moment in 1940 when the idea of neural network came into life. There are a couple of other interesting timeline moments here. Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, recently the Nobel Prize winner as well, invented the backpropagation algorithm. What this slide is aimed at is trying to tell you that what we are noticing now has taken decades in terms of mathematical innovations, in terms of computer science innovations to come to this moment. So this is the software side of things. If you look at the hardware side, infrastructure really took a lot of time. The real breakthroughs were happening in the 40s, 50s, and the 60s, but the infrastructure caught up to those breakthroughs in the 80s. We started getting much more efficient hardware, and the pivotal moment for us was when NVIDIA introduced GPUs for graphical acceleration in the 90s. So if there was one thing that you want to walk away from today's talk, it's the following. It's not a hype. It's taken decades of disciplined, serious foundational work, both in research and in hardware innovation, to come to this moment. And what we are noticing is an accelerated timeline because all of these different components, they stacked on top of each other to deliver what we're noticing right now in generative AI. So when we say AI, it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What we want to do today is clearly partition AI into meaningful buckets. And for the most part of my career, when I'm talking to people who are not in computer science, this mental model has served them immensely in their own business. Largely speaking, you can bucket AI into two frames. One is discriminative AI, and the other is generative AI. When we see discriminative AI, you're talking about models and systems that learn to separate. Separate what? Maybe spam from not spam, defective items or defective transactions, fraud transactions from normal transactions, deciding high cost versus low cost, or forecasting high cost versus low cost, anytime you're making a decision of going one way or the other, you are probably looking for AI systems and frameworks that are in the category of discriminative AI. What the diagram on the screen is trying to show you is the labels on the data are critical in this part of the world when we talk about AI discriminative models. They learn what one versus zero is, and then they predict. So if you were to take this analogy in housing prices, every single input would have a labeled housing price that the model would learn from, so that in future it can predict those prices, right? It doesn't create new data. It helps you decide. Then that's the engine behind most of the predictions, most of the classifications, and the self-driving perception that you see in the cars. So if you have been on one of these cars, you know that computer vision is always deciding what is the next step to take, right? It's not generating new data. So it's discriminative AI in the background. If you're doing some sort of tone analysis in your marketing research, or you're trying to find your customer's intent, you're really deciding one way or the other. And lastly, this is a class of systems called recommendation engines. So when you log in, if you have 4 members in your family, every member gets a different view of Netflix. How is that possible? Because behind the scenes, algorithms like recommendation engines, they decide what is the most likely content that should be served for a given persona, right? It's deciding A versus B. In a library of 10,000 plus movies, it's deciding which 50 are most meaningful for you personally. On the other hand is what we have recently seen, an explosion of generative AI. So every time you're creating new content, you are learning from full data distribution as opposed to just the boundary conditions. That's where you're doing generative AI, right? You're trying to predict the next word, the next pixel. You're generating sequences that look natural to the human mind. That is the key thing here. The generative AI is not deciding, it's generating content that looks natural to the human mind, whether it's text, images, videos. We've already seen this with the revolution in Claude, OpenAI, and other models, that it can generate very nice natural text, images, and I think most recently OpenAI launched Sora 2.0 for a limited audience, which is doing outstanding work generating videos from prompts. So if you look on this slide, one takeaway is there are no labels. It's trying to learn the entire distribution. In this case, for example, it's trying to learn the picture and the placement of eye, nose, and all of those things relative to each other, so that it can generate new content which is similar to the training data set. So where do we see generative AI? I think this is something that has been in our face for the last 2 years. We know in tech space there has been so much innovation, and it's happening almost every month. We're seeing new models. GPT-5 is here. On the image side, we have models that can take a prompt and generate very realistic images. There have been some products in the music side as well. And code is something that is actually already delivering tangible results for these companies that are at the forefront of software and AI innovation. So software engineers are already using co-pilots such as Cursor.ai or the GitHub Copilot to be their partner in writing code, right? It's a reliable system. It does need a lot of validation, but in terms of practical examples where large corporations are finding efficiencies, including folks like Google, Microsoft, Anthropic, they're using generative AI to generate code. So now that we have some understanding of the 2 main buckets, discriminative and generative, let's see what are the use cases, 1 or 2 use cases where we have seen validated ROI using AI that establish this hypothesis that I said in the beginning, that the opportunity is real. We just have to look at the right problem for your business select the right solution, and implement and execute on it. So one of the most common cases, I think it's fair to think that most people are using Amazon for their day-to-day needs. When you go to Amazon, the clothing line has one of the highest return rates because people return, and one of the highly frequent reason for returns is not the dress doesn't fit the user properly. So Amazon has deployed complex machine learning systems that use discriminative AI to select and recommend to you the sizes that would normally, most likely fit you based on your previous buying patterns and return patterns, right? It's not trying to generate new stuff for solving this problem. It's using discriminative AI, and these systems are already in operations. Every time you see in your country website for Amazon, let's say small fits you or medium fits you, that's an AI system that is already trained to predict the most likely size so that the chances of returns is minimized. And why is that? Because returns mean customer friction, returns mean inventory is on the road, and it also adds to a lot of customers kind of leaving the platform when it comes to clothing lines. They prefer hands-on experience. So one example where we have seen validated, and I've personally worked on this problem when I was at Amazon. In manufacturing, largely speaking, we can all agree that there are variations in the inputs, right? There are variations in the input material. There are variations in the environment. There are variations in the equipment performance, right? In the face of these variations in the inputs, AI is being deployed at various stages to control this variation, to detect defective systems that are coming out and defective products that are coming out, and add more guardrails over there. AI is able to use holistic sensor networks to give you both downstream and upstream view of the process, and also enables faster debugging. When it comes to quality control, we have seen that computer vision systems, right? Again, discriminative systems are doing great in selecting in real time the products coming out of the conveyor belt which fit the quality criteria versus which fall below. And one niche area where we have seen in manufacturing real ROI is in predicting maintenance. So you can do three types of maintenance. One is reactive maintenance, then the other is scheduled maintenance. Where we're seeing real ROI in terms of saving time and money is in predictive maintenance. And a lot of industries like oil and gas and other manufacturing systems have already deployed this in production. I want to be sure that we're on time. So quickly going through this recent wave that we're noticing that just like AI in your ChatGPT or OpenAI models can learn the grammar of language, it can also learn the grammar of proteins and hence generate new protein structures which can be candidates for further elimination or taking or research. We have seen innovations from Google DeepMind around how to predict 3D structures and how multiple proteins fit together. So this is a very niche market that is evolving, but there are startups in this domain which are trying to leverage AI for drug discovery. And before we end the call and this session, I want to take your attention again one more time to that fraud versus normal transactions. So every single transaction on Amazon platform is going through a discriminative AI system that is predicting whether this specific order that you're placing is real or it's a fraudster trying to make some money out of Amazon platform. Overall, this is how most successful AI projects look like when I scan through the last 2 decades of my experience. It always starts with a technical business problem, a problem rooted in customers, a problem rooted in people. It then translates to a technical problem. And then comes the question whether you really need AI to solve this problem. I think most recently we have been jumping the gun and going to step three for most of the issues that we see. I would submit to the audience here that let's go back to the fundamentals and see what are the fundamental business problems that you are noticing repeatedly, and then see if AI is really a good fit. Once you decide that yes, AI is a good fit, it's falling into one of those discriminative versus generative AI frameworks, you've got to assemble the right people to handle the job. Or maybe you can outsource this to the right team that you trust. And then comes the downstream task of building the right infrastructure and ensuring that you're rightly prepared to handle the volume of transactions or whatever that is that you're trying to do. But with that, I hope I've been able to give you a basic map of the land and also give you some grounding that this is not a hype. There would be some players who will figure out the best way to use AI to solve real business problems in your specific domain. And we all are here to ensure that it is you and your team on that roadmap. Thank you. Over to you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you, Alok. Great talk there. One quick question I have as a follow-up, and in that vein of like, what is AI versus like other things, and machine learning has been around for a long time. We've been using machine learning. I think was a precursor or a type of AI, if you will. But I
Mm.
just wanted to for me to make sure I sort of understand it. When we say machine learning, is that the discriminative model that you're describing, or does that fit some other place, some other way?
Yeah. Great question. So there are three terms that are very close to each other: data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. And they keep coming in the same conversation. Loosely speaking, I'd say, Jim, machine learning is the overarching term that combines both discriminative and generative AI. In terms of going back to your initial question, what is machine learning? I would say anytime the problem is of the nature where you cannot simply write rules to solve it, machine learning would likely help over there, right?
Okay.
So coming back to, let's say, fraud example, there was a time when the volumes were so low you could pretty much write rules and get the job done. But with the scale of the problem, it's really hard to write rules for that. So that would be a kind of a framework that I sometimes lean into when I'm advising.
Okay. Thank you. Well, that's great. Eugenio, can you pick it up and kind of take us to the next level here?
Absolutely. Let me share my screen. You guys tell me if you can see
I can
it.
see it. It's not full screen yet, but I can
Perfect.
see it. There we go.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, thanks Alok again for the beautiful presentation and super insightful. I think it perfect groundbreaking here to actually demystify a little bit what is AI and what's not. And I also would like to start, usually I like to start this kind of webinar and session uh, also with differentiating between what is AI tools and what's core in AI. So this is more about usage, so end user usage about AI. And on one end, in my opinion, we have the AI tools. That's something out of the box that you can use and leverage on your own. So you don't really need hard tech skills to get into the game, but just like to start and dirty your hand on in the process and trying different product and leverage your productivity and stuff. So using let's say, visible layer of AI, so these AI tools. Rather, the AI core it's more you identify some data and you have some model you want to train on in order to trying to simulate the reality. It's something that also Alok was speaking before. And this is more if you want something internalized, you want AI to be part of your core solution, right? So it's important to have this distinction because I feel in AI nowadays there's a lot of mess, and for sure the hype doesn't really help. So This presentation is divided a little bit accordingly. So in the first part, we're gonna see some AI tools that you can use out of the box, and maybe like the different department and part of your team can use it in marketing, in sales, in reach out, and something like that. On the last part, we're going to see some common pitfalls or errors that we're facing advising startup in the early stage and trying to help them with the AI journey that they are facing. So these are the two milestones, let's say. Um, what I think like it's the momentum now. It's basically it's a good time to be a startup in my opinion, because as we all know, we also were a startup. Now we grow a little bit, but startup is essentially lacking resources. And nowadays, with latest AI state-of-the-art tool, you have some tools to actually provide your team, your different part of your team, your departments, with some unprecedented tool that before or nowadays are still in big corporate taking over like 5 or 10 people full time. So it's this crazy time that for sure we have to leverage. So I don't know if you remember, at least like a few years ago was my case. Like I keep on receiving these spammy mails, right, on my folder. The value proposition was, yeah, I just replaced your entire HR department. I replaced your entire marketing department, sales or whatever. Um, and the cool things now is that actually you can do this kind of the same thing, so the same kind of task, but in-house by just leveraging like the get yourself dirty with those tools that we know and we're gonna see later on the session. But the point here is there's no reason to selling your soul like to costly spammy vendors that every month you need to pay for different tasks, but you can really in-house this kind of capabilities with some really easy and fast framework. So for instance, now I'm gonna let you through something that we also use as in Cognitex. We are not a huge consultancy firm, so we have our super accountable people for the different tasks, different departments. So we have like marketing, the reach out, the sales, and so on, all empowered by those AI tools that have become key in our day-to-day. For instance, this use case, this actually we developed for a large corporation, but we call it reach out the smart way. So imagine the use case that I think you can really relate. I have a bunch of product or a product that I want to reach out to the right people, right? Like I wanted to figure it out someone, investors or final clients that are spot on for my product. Before you spend maybe like days or months figuring it out in LinkedIn, maybe writing to people to explain your product, you get no response and whatsoever. Now you can actually fetch the right people by actually on one part, you can train these models, and then we're gonna see a glance of what we do on the specific feature of component your product, and on the other end, fetch on LinkedIn or other searching engine, like the right people based on the feature specific of your products. We make this product like really in production in an incredibly fast time to a large corporation in Europe, and has been one of the success project that we leverage just with the OpenAI developer platform. So there wasn't like that tech stack behind, and it's really important to take this into account for a early stage startup. Another use case, and this is really part of our journey, how we communicate in Cognitex, we have this tool that basically, so as you may imagine in this AI world, there's a new innovation every day, as also Alok was mentioning. It's really tough to stay on top of everything. There are these big AI players that are fighting each other to get the state-of-the-art model in imaging, in text generation, in code generation, so on. And what we want to do is to be, first of all, aware of this. So we have a crawler that actually gave us and fetched the latest news on a given topic. Our domain is AI in healthcare and pharmaceutical. So we get these in the market where our clients are playing. And we summarize all this content, and every day I receive a calendar post on my personal on my work account that propose me actually an option to post on LinkedIn, for instance. So we have the workflow that goes from fetching the latest news up until publishing it, something real, just to can stay on top of everything. Of course, it's out with our communication line, so our form. And the human in the loop, it's still the most important things. But at least we have a framework that really fast goes from fetching the news, like make us aware, and eventually publish it. All these tools that I've listed here are working, and many others like customer care, mostly impacted, are empowered, but the kind of what we refer as a new era of AI, that is the agentic one. So far, we just use GPT and the different LLMs as a knowledge base, kind of, right? So we ask information by query, by prompting, and we got information back, the best information, like train on all internet and so on, perfect. But now the new era, what they claim to be, is that an agentic with actually AI would do things for you. And all the tools that I presented and I will present it are mainly empowered by this kind of new technology. I would say the most impacted like domain, it's properly software development and the tech environment, right? So I don't know if any of you is familiar with the term vibe coding, but it's something that an AI agent that allows you to build and prototype a fully functional web interface but just by querying in natural language. So this for us at Cognites, for instance, it's key because we can go from actually the request of the clients up to show a fully functional prototype in really few days, maximum a week. Here to be aware that then the productization part still it's really relevant. So this is like spot on for the first part. So if you want to show something and that actually is functional and should work like it is, and you can do it in a very fast way. For instance, just to show some tool, for instance, we have Lovable, we have many more. Here you just can type create an interface for my biotech startup in her this domain or something like that, and you can chat, and then it becomes like to create actually the interface. So now we go on, but we'll see at the end. So this is for instance, a provocative video, but it's like in the community, it's really went viral of kids 30 years old actually building prototype and do like a little hackathon. And this hackathon where now like there's a global hackathon where kids 13 years old kind of challenge themselves in building prototype and web app and so on and so forth. So this is provocative again, but it gives you the idea of what they were doing in 10 people, 10 full stack engineer. Now, at least for the prototype part, you can actually do it in-house, just natural language processing it. Quickly to end the AI tools section, in my opinion, is also really crucial to use the right AI tool for the right task. Because now, I guess nowadays, like 90% of people just use ChatGPT and confuse it like, this is AI. But actually, from the out of the box AI tool side, you should use the right AI for the right task that you want to accomplish. For instance, if I have to create something from scratch, for sure I'll go to ChatGPT still because he has gained a lot of human feedback and human interaction. So it's really capable to it's spot on for creativity and so on. But if I want to prompt greater and greater context and a more like privacy kind of data, and also for code generation, for sure I go to Anthropic and Cloud Code. For instance, I mentioned before the one of the getting the news. So Perplexity, I guess, is the one the perfect tool to gather the information in a smart way. And as in Cognitex, we use mainly Olama because we deploy. It's like we deploy ChatGPT, but in a small way in local environment because we deal with very sensible data, hospital and so on. So here the point is there's not just ChatGPT, but you use the right AI for the right task. The latest one, this is just a side to give you like the real state of the art. A few days ago, OpenAI released the apps connection that is supposed to really bring you the concept of application, of web application, because now you can really chat with your app, different app, booking Spotify to get playlist and change the vibes and so on. In just doing query natural language, so it's really something that it's really unbelievable, and I try this because it's like it's mind blowing. So apart from the AI tool part, all cool, all good. You can use it in-house. You can try yourself and so on. You pay like little subscription and you really leverage on that tools. Now we came to the AI core. So imagine you want to leverage like AI inside your company to be part of your IP and part of your value proposition. So you need for sure the framework that I was explaining before. So the data that identify that it's still, I think, like the most important part of the process and also the of your value proposition, the model and the outputs, but most of all, you need people. Still people, and not just human in the process, but people who can handle the whole data and AI life cycles are key for this kind of challenges. Because AI tool, you can make your AI department, your marketing sales department using it, and that's fine. Not tech art skill required. On if you want the data to really be careful and be part of your value, you should hire the right people. Um, this is the kind of usual that was the I'm sure you already heard about garbage in, garbage out. If you have wrong or missing or bad data and you run whatever model, you get like bad results. But in the AI environment nowadays, I guess what we are facing is that it's even worse. It's even more dangerous because those big models just applying also by maybe people that are not quite educated in the AI and data world, they just amplify the errors. A common challenge and common use case, common error that it's very famous in the community. It happens in around 2020. So one of the first AI big model that trying to get and recognize pneumonia from RX images, right? So in this case, they run like this big model with a lot of parameter, big neural network and so on. And they find out like a big accuracy, almost 100% accurate on the image of that hospital that were trained. When they try to bring into other hospitals, other country, and so on, they realized that actually the algorithm had learned just the feature of that specific hospital, that specific scanner. So it was like one of the most embarrassing, let's say, use case that we ever faced. To close the session, part of my journey for initial has been like the so-called what we refer to the no data science. It means like clients asking us like, yeah, why don't we do this? We want this result, we want this model and so on, but they have no idea, but most important, no data to train on. And this is still a relevant problem nowadays. The thing is that there are a little bit of tools that can not solve, but it's a little to actually try to accomplish, let's say, this task, so to generate those data, and the synthetic data generation. So there's some techniques that allows you at least to generate something that should be really, really careful, because at the end you're trying to generate the real world and then model it. So it could be a lot of bias, a lot of noise, but there are tools, and we can speak later on the panel what we can do, how to deal with this. The really, really last topic here, it's something that is important. We are, as a consultancy AI firm, we see growing in startup that try to leverage AI from the core, that mainly are using it, like importing these big tech, big AI solution in their domain, and leverage those AI model on their data. This is cool on the first part of the journey, but then we see this startup and company, and we saw really many uh, actually getting married with this kind of solution, and you are fully dependent to a single provider that tomorrow could slightly change parameter and model, and you find out that your solution is not the one that you're providing to your client anymore. So yeah, that's it basically. Whatever question, and I'm happy to take it. And yeah, thanks. I can't hear you, Jim.
So thank you. I was on mute. But no, great. Thank you, Eugenio. That's a great content there. A quick question.
Yeah,
Um, I think you brought up a great point, which is, I especially from the perspective of a medical device company, but even any company really leveraging AI, I think the value and importance of owning your model and owning your data, so that you can ensure, right, that at least you validated inputs to outputs and no middleman changes your your output or algorithm. That's probably a very important point for people who are doing mission critical activities.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Um, Great. Well, let's with that, thank you for the presentations. We